Today, we're going to talk about the Metaverse.
Facebook, Meta, outrage.
Well, for Facebook, will Meta make everything better?
Welcome to the Metaverse.
This is a crazy idea that you're going to give your life to some sort of augmented or virtual reality. Let's talk about the Metaverse, because I'm really fascinated by this decision of Facebook to change the name of Facebook to Meta and to the Metaverse, which I think people are just they're gonna realize that this is a crazy idea that you're gonna give your life to some sort of augmented or virtual reality world that's created by a guy who's involved in this company whose algorithms are sowing the seeds of distrust and hate. But now we let him take over what you see and feel, because you're going to have a new company, and this new company is going to be virtually reality based, where he reenacted a scene from Black Mirror.
Yeah, well,
which is unironically.
I know, and you know what makes me a little sad? I think that it's going to happen.
You think it's going to happen?
Yeah, I think that you and I are of a different generation, dude. I think there are a lot of kids who are growing up in Fortnite world and spend a lot, and I think the pandemic really accelerated this. There are a lot of people who lived online for the entire pandemic, and so for people like me and for people like my parents, not seeing other humans for a long time was actually quite painful and terrible. Like, we actually did want to get out and be with the community and see friends and do that sort of stuff. What if you spend your entire life, from the time you're a little kid, interacting with screens? What if those screens are getting increasingly sophisticated so that they are interacting with you in ways that humans would? What if you get to be whatever, like, we're a society, we were just talking about this, where you get to be whatever you want to be? What if there's a world where you actually can be and everybody sees you the way you want to be seen? Would you rather live there where you're like rich and good looking and everybody likes you, or would you rather live in the real world where you're disconnected from all of that and you end up with like Ready Player One world? I think
it's going to happen. It's as long as it can become indistinguishable from reality, which it will be able to be. It's going to take time, whether it's 5 years or 10 years. If you go back and look at Pong, which was the first game that I ever saw when I was a child. It's ridiculous. It's like a white ball that bounces across, and you have a straight
two
line.
paddles, yep.
That's a paddle, and it's the dumbest game. You could never convince a child to play today. They'd be like, "Get out of here with that stupid game." I can go play Halo, right? But back then, when I was a child, that was a big deal. If you just go in the future from now, what they have available now with these insane video graphics, the Unreal Engine, and then move yourself 20 years in the future, it's going to be indistinguishable.
And the AI is getting better and better in terms of being able to imitate human behavior, in terms of being able to innovate on its own.
And haptic feedback suits and all these different things, and all these video games that they have that emulate sports. They're getting so close. When you watch these basketball games, and the UFC has a game, when you watch these the players, the fighters move around, like, God, it's so close. It's not quite there, but they're getting better and better with each iteration, and it's just a matter of time.
And what I wonder is if we are innovating ourselves, and when it comes to this stuff, if we're innovating ourselves out of existence as a civilization.
But don't you think that's probably where this goes, no matter what?
No, I think then the barbarians come to the gate. I think that's what happens.
Really?
Because the real world still exists. So if you innovate an entire generation of people, and let's just take this on the most baseline demographic level, none of them get married, none of them have babies. In 2 generations, this ain't going to matter. You're going to have a good time in the virtual reality, and then there are going to be no babies to carry this on, and the only people on Earth are going to be religious Jews, religious Catholics, and religious Muslims, and that's it.
The vulnerability lies in the power grid. The power grid is so vulnerable that if someone just detonated the power grid, all this stuff stops, and then you have no life. Your life is you've invested it completely in this augmented world, this virtual world. But this virtual world, all you have to do is pull the plug, and it's out. And it's out for millions of people. It's like the equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb on a culture. Like, if you really all live inside of a computer system, some sort of
It's virtual reality. Yeah, no, that's right. And what I fear is that when you do that to a civilization, it's basically the equivalent of you bring in a wild animal and you put it in a cage for a long time, and now you can't release it back in the wild, right? It's going to get eaten. What happens to you as a civilization? Right, what happens if you've taken an entire generation of people, told them that their entire life exists online, they don't have to interact with other humans, they don't have to interact in human ways with other humans, and then there's like an entire other Earth out there that isn't doing any of this. Right? By the way, China's not doing this. Right?
No.
China's banning it.
Yeah.
China's banning it. China's saying you're not allowed to go online certain days of the week if you're a kid. right? We're going to ban the kind of stuff that you can see. So, in the long run, which civilization is going to be more durable? The one that actually understands the vulnerabilities of human nature, or the one that says, we're going to use those vulnerabilities to make you feel subjectively happier? I'm amazed at the level of conditioning. Here's what killed me about the pandemic, honestly. What killed me? The level of conditioning that it took in order to rejigger how people think was so low. It shocked the hell out of me. It really shocked me. I was talking to my business partner, Jeremy Boring, about this, and early on in the pandemic, he was like, people aren't going to stand for this. When they shut everything down, it's like 3 months from now, people are going to be losing their minds. They're going to be out on the streets protesting to get rid of the masks, and they're going to be out at ball games again. I was like, that's not right. I think it'll take a year. We're like a year and a half in, and half the country's still like, what if this just kind of continues? All right, I guess. The amount of dependency that was bred by people saying, just go back to your house. And people human beings are really adaptable. And this is something that Brett Weinstein and Heather Heying talk about, right? That's our superpower. We're super duper adaptable.
Yeah.
So we're super adaptable.
To our own detriment.
Sometimes to our own detriment. So if we change our social circumstances radically in a way that's unhealthy for us, and we are now interacting with technologies that were built to take advantage of our lizard brain, then what happens when there are people who are just not engaging in the same, they're not playing the same game that we are, right? We're essentially drugging ourselves. Robert Nozick is the libertarian philosopher. He talks at one point about what he calls the experience machine. It's the thought experiment. And the experience machine is basically VR. He's writing this in the early 1960s. He says, what if there was a machine where you could plug into it, you'd feel the illusion of choice, you'd feel as though your choices had some sort of significance, and it would give you the dopamine hit that you get in regular life. Would you plug into it or would you not?
Right.
And his theory was you wouldn't plug into it because you still want to feel like your life has real-world consequences. But what if everybody you know is in that experience machine? Then you're the one who gets left out if you're not in the experience machine.
What is real world? I mean, that's what the problem is. That analogy was created before the sophistication of computer systems has reached the point now where you can look at it 20 years from now and you kind of get an understanding of where it's going to be. When you're dealing with what's possible now, I don't think you're going to be able to stop people from doing it because I think it's going to be so overwhelmingly addictive. You look at how many people are just addicted to looking at their Instagram.
Yep.
It's so
TikTok.
simple.
Yep.
It's nothing. I mean, it's nothing. The dopamine hit you get off this little phone, it's minimal. But people are completely all in on it.
Yep. And I think that I do wonder if there's going to be, and I wonder what you think about this, if there's going to be a bifurcation in the same way there's been a bifurcation about so many issues between the people at the top of sort of the elite spectrum and the rest of the population, where the people at the elite spectrum are making the metaverse, but their kids aren't actually in the metaverse.
Right, Steve Jobs didn't let his kid use an iPad.
Exactly. I'm on the internet. My kids are 7, 5, and 1. They're not allowed. We don't have the TV on in our house. My kids don't watch TV. My kids don't get internet access until 18. That is not a thing I want.
18?
They can be out of my house and they can get internet.
They're going to rebel. They're going to do drugs. They're going to be in the street. Kids are going to turn tricks.
Well,
it's going to be a real problem. It's going to be a real problem.
That's a pretty wild ride you took me on there, Joe. That's really upsetting.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was. We went straight from my kids aren't watching Coco Melon to they're turning tricks in the streets
turning
of Florida.
Tricks is such a great term. It sounds so cute for what it actually is.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing. But it sounds like cute. Oh, they're turning tricks. If you didn't understand English, you'd be like, oh, they're magicians? No.
Of a sort.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, we're going to limit. But I think that's one of the stories. If we're talking about the elite kind of versus everybody else gap,
maybe
everything that gets created
that
is
concerned about their children.
But you say with everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people promulgating technologies and value systems they don't actually live in.
Right.
And then everybody who is watching is like, I will do that.
Right.
And then those people themselves don't do it.